E13. I'm going to tell you a story today, and this takes place back in Washington. After we'd lived there for a year, so let's say 86, because we didn't move back till 87. After we'd been there for a year, we took a vacation and came back to Minnesota to visit. I remember the car we was driving was a Saab. Excellent car. Can't say enough about it. It was for Swedish engineering. One of the couple of the feats of it was that it could handle corners beautifully. So when we lived up in the hills in Washington, going around the hills and corners and curves, excellent handling. So I could see why it was made for a mountainous territory, weather, good handling weather. And the other thing is that the seats weren't iron or wire mesh with stuffing in it. It was rubber, kind of a stretched rubber seating. So very, very comfortable for long periods of time. Never an issue sitting in that car. The other thing is that the key wasn't in the dash. It was down on in between the seats where the stick shift was. But we were bringing that car back, and this is one of those stories that you look back and think about it. What just happened? And it was just a series of events that just everything happened. And sometimes you put your hand in a higher power, and he delivers. In that instance, we were coming back. We hadn't left Washington yet. Where we lived we was about 40 miles from the coastline. So we had 100 miles to get to Seattle. And once you hit Seattle, you go over the Cascades to get into more of the Rocky Mountains, but over the Cascades is what they call them. The upper part of the Rocky Mountains in that part of the country in the U.S., which is pretty hilly, steep climbs. And we were heading up, and I remember Gordon. We'd been driving, and this was probably another several miles outside of Seattle. So we'd been driving pretty much all morning. So this was probably early afternoon by the time we got to this spot. And like I said, we hadn't left the state yet. We still had to travel across Utah and Montana, the Dakotas, to get back to Minnesota. So we just began the journey. And like I said, we were several hours away from home. So if something happened, we were not really a phone call away from anybody helping us. We headed up. He was getting tired and said, I'm going to put my head back and take a nap. I can take care of it. And he headed up, and I noticed that the car started to overheat. One of the gauges was coming up. And I seen that there was a rest stop that was within a couple of miles. So I figured, well, at least we could make it to the rest stop. But the incline and the overheating of the engine, and I just kept pushing it because I didn't want to stop on the freeway. I wanted to at least make it to the rest stop. At least we had, there's refreshments and water and bathroom and all those facilities. But I remember we just barely got to the rest stop, and the car died, and I coasted right into a parking spot. And there we sat. Opened up the hood, and it was just amazing how hot that engine got. And if you've ever replaced spark plug wires, they're no bigger than a pencil when they're installed. It had overheated so much that they had swelled up, I would say at least 4 times their size. They had overheated. All the spark plug wires were just swollen up so big. So I knew it was a problem. I knew those were like out of the question. And that being that hot, I'm sure that we had done damage or I had done damage to the engine. Luckily by then I was a well-seasoned mechanic, and proceeded to. I think we realized that the head was probably warped. Something had cracked, and we were in really dire straits. I remember out taking the upper part of the engine. This is at rest stop again. Taking out the upper part of the engine, taking the head off to see what damage had been done. And there was a guy that was walking his dog. I remember him saying, "Mike." He was calling the dog Mike. Now it's just so unusual that a dog would be named Mike. And he came over and we explained the situation, that the engine overheated. We probably needed to find a machine shop so we could have the head planed and a new head gasket and new plug wires. We knew the plugs and plug wires are probably toasted as well. So he said that he lived in a town that wasn't too far from where we was at, Spokane, which is a pretty good sized town. He said that he could give us a ride there, and then we could call and see. There'd be several parts stores in town, and see what we come up with. So we hopped in the car. I don't remember his name, but I just remember the dog's name was Mike. And he took us, I think we first went to the closest town, called, and seen if we could get the parts there. And they said, no, you'd have to go to a bigger town. So, no, wait a minute. I remember we did get to Spokane. They didn't have the parts, so the next town over did, so we had to. And he said that he would, if he wanted to wait till tomorrow, he would drive and go get the parts, which he did. He did drive us, and we picked up the parts and went back to the rest area and was able to assemble everything back together and continue on our journey. But meanwhile, we had to have a place to sleep that night. He said, well, you're welcome to come, because he was staying with, I don't know how he described it, but he said he was staying in a little community, and they'd be more than welcome to share a bed with you for the night. So we went, and by that time it was dark, so we really didn't have, being in a strange town, we couldn't see where we were going at night, and it's kind of spooky and unusual, because you're just driving. And I knew that, because he said that the place is on an abandoned Air Force, not Air Force, but abandoned plane. It had to be Air Force, abandoned Air Force. Because I remember when we got there, first you could see these underground bunkers. And all you had seen is just the door entrance, and it just went down to the ground. So we knew when we was driving that there were no houses around, because it was driving in flat land. So we knew we'd entered the airport, abandoned airport. Got there, and of course, being not only in the middle of nowhere, but in an abandoned airport, and we had this underground airport locker that was heading into. It was just like in the movies when you see the air raid and they all come running up the slope, out of the ground to the airports. But we went down to the ground, this community, and it was just, I wouldn't say it was a free, peace, love, hippie community, but it was more of a just, he was they were very welcome, open, type of community. I can't explain who they were or why they were, but I remember him took us first thing. This was later. Took us first thing to the kitchen to give us something to eat, and we had some peanut butter and jelly. And the guy came, and he had to be the leader, and he explained our situation, and he said, "You're welcome." So I'm trying to remember if he was there the first thing, but I think he just went and talked to him and then came back. But we met him the next day. Like I said, it was very strange, unusual. You feel comfortable, apprehensive, but yet you trust that you're in good hands, and you have a belief that no harm is going to come to you. So he found us a room. We could hear voices every now and then. Like I said, it was pretty quiet. It was later at night. We'd already made the call, so we knew where the part was the next day, and we'd had to go. So he found us a room, and there'd be many rooms. I mean, when you got underground bunker lockers, finding a room was not an issue. So he found us a room, and we slept. Probably Gordon slept probably a little uneasier than I did, because I can sleep on a hard floor without any issue at all. It had been pretty taxing. It was, and working on the engine, bent over on a car, and it was pretty chilly on the hill because that climb when you stopped. I remember we had to do it in spurts. We were Gordon sitting in the car because it was pretty damn chilly out, especially when it got close to dark, close to nighttime. So we got up the next morning. He did invite us to the. Let's see. He said there was invited us down to breakfast, and we had like corn, not mush, but cornmeal. So it wasn't a lot of really expensive heavy food. So it was probably really budgeted, but they did share what they had. So the night before being fed peanut butter and jelly, and the next day being fed like cornmeal. It was at least some food, and got to meet the leader of the group. He did welcome us, and was very knew that Mike was the dog's name. Knew this guy was that kind of character. So they were just seemed to be apprehensive of us as we were of them. I remember the next morning having to take a shower, because there were showers at the end, and Gordon wouldn't take a shower, but I needed to take one, so I went down and took a shower, and that's when the leader of the guy came in there at the same time as I was taking a shower, and just showered, cleaned up. He did ask a few questions, and I answered them the best of my ability of, like I said, our situation, what he was doing for us, and pretty much left it at that. That's why I said I think the overall experience was unusual, to say the best. But it's one of those things that you carry that, like I said, the next day he took us and we got the parts, got back to the rest stop, and I assembled. We had the head with us, so we had it planed. I don't know if you know how much goes into doing a head job, but having it planed, had the head gasket, retorquing the cylinders back into place, assembling it, and that was it. We got it. We knew it had a overheating problem, but it definitely you don't go on a trip. The car's ever in question, don't go on a trip. But the overall experience was just amazing. How need something the most, it does come through for you. You call it a higher power, call it somebody. I've always believed that somebody's watched over me over the years, and that's one of those experiences that in the middle of nowhere, somebody would come through and help you like that, and didn't really take. I know we were like really budgeted. I didn't really take money. He was doing it for the kindness of the stranger, and it's something that I've always remembered as being just a unique, those unique experiences in life that in a moment. And we've always helped people over the years. We're working on cars, working on computers. It's kind of a give and take relationship with the world. Is that what you put into it, you get out of it. I know I was kind of a hooligan as a youngster, and spent a lot of my cards, burned a lot of bridges, and later on in life, I learned to appreciate that what I could do for my fellow man, and experiences like that really enforce that it is a wonderful world that we live in, and just to help out your neighbor, whether it be carrying out the garbage or trimming the hedges, is something that we should do, because it doesn't really take that much. I mean, you're not putting out more than what you get in return. And it's just, like I said, one of those wonderful experiences I want to share. Like I said, it's back in Washington. I want to say 86. Dates and times. It's really hard to pinpoint exactly. But I just want to share that with you. And I'm going to leave you. It's February 22nd, 2013. And I found a song, and Boston was a big group I listened to in the 70s. I remember even there in Washington, they released Third Stage. It was long after their 70s hits, and evidently they released a greatest hits album, and it's called Higher Power. Now, I've never heard this one. This is my first time hearing it. But Boston, Higher Power, February 26, 2013.